And do.
I want to eat your brain. Spider sense tingling.
Marvel Talking Superheroes and X-Men, each sold separately from Toy Biz.
Wait a minute. Did he just say I want to eat his brain? Hey y'all, welcome to Carbon Scoring, your clubhouse where action figure history and comic books collide. We're back down in my secret lounge where I display a lifetime of collecting action figures, but today we're going to take a deep dive into the wall behind me, my Marvel Legends collection. I've been on this line since the very beginning, mainly because it started right around the same time that I got a real job.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
But how did this line go from these 4 figures in the initial wave to everything you see here? Well, we need a little history. Toy Biz started producing Marvel action figures in 1990, and while their first offerings were, well, but in 2002 they revolutionized the action figure industry with their super articulated and comic-accurate Marvel Legends. These toys included a 32-page comic, and beginning with the 9th wave, also included a Build-A-Figure part, allowing you to construct an action figure otherwise impossible to sell at retail. In 2007, toy giant Hasbro took over the line, and their first offerings were... They were so bad the line actually went dormant in 2008, and it looked like Marvel Legends were finished. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Marvel Legends roared back to life in 2012, and they have been an unstoppable juggernaut ever since. So while the vast majority of the figures that you see behind me do come from these 2 lines, there are other 6-inch figures that fit in as well, including figures from Mafex, Mezco, and the Marvel Select line released directly to comic shops through Diamond. So now that you know the lay of the land, let's dig into these shelves. And hey, if you're enjoying what we're doing, give us a like and hit subscribe so we can keep growing the channel. Let's start at the very beginning with Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. I mentioned that it takes toys from all the different toy lines to create these different displays. And here we have some Hasbro villains that were all created during Jack Kirby's signature run on the title. The FF are in their original costumes of blue and black, but as we move over to the section with their friends and allies, this is where we start to mix toy lines. Here is Franklin, who came from Toy Biz, in a Fantasticars that was actually part of the original Reed Richards. These are actually 2 Fantasticars welded together to give that classic flying bathtub look. The Inhumans include Hasbro's Medusa and Black Bolt, but this incredible Lockjaw actually came from the Mezco 112 line, and he fits in perfectly. And then to finish out the royal family, I have some customs that I got off of eBay many moons ago. So again, to create the first family, it takes a village. But hey, we're talking about the Fantastic Four, and they deserve more than one display. So for my 1980s John Byrne display, I have more of the villains on a cosmic scale. Actually, this John Byrne FF came together with figures from 5 different lines, mixed and matched to make the perfect team. I'm very proud that I own the exclusive Dragon Man figure, one of the most valuable Marvel Legends. And of course, anchoring this is the World Eater Galactus, the original Build-A-Figure. Frankie Ray Nova is one of the heralds of Galactus that hopefully we'll get in 6-inch form pretty soon. That came from a Toy Biz line 5 years before the advent of Marvel Legends. And the Marvel Select Watcher, originally in 7-inch scale, fits in perfectly with the overall design of this display. My Marvel 1970s and street level characters begins with Daredevil, as well as his friends and foes. As we move across, you can see Doctor Strange is front and center of this display, and this is actually the Mezco 112 version of the Sorcerer Supreme. Toy Biz gave us a really good Doctor Strange, but his cloak is so big that it makes it difficult for the figure to stand. So I think this one is better, and I have him levitating above the rest of the heroes. And then here they are, that 70s power duo, the Heroes for Hire, Iron Fist and Power Man. These figures came out over 15 years ago, but they still haven't been matched in their classic looks. Shang-Chi, Cloak and Dagger, Ghost Rider, and the new Moon Knight that I customized all fill out the rest of this display. The 70s were swinging, baby. This is a display that I completely redid for this video because Hasbro keeps killing it with new figures from the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, including this brand new deluxe Thanos. He replaced a Marvel Select Thanos that I had in this display for years, but those bright, vibrant colors really knock it out of the park. However, I did have Lady Death from that Marvel Select still hanging out with him. Right in the front, we've got Kree and Skull with Ronan the Accuser and multiple Skrulls. And who can forget Cosmic Ghost Rider along with the Black Silver Surfer wielding Mjolnir. Coming back across, right in the front, Adam Warlock. This figure is definitely in need of an upgrade, but he's still rocking it with the Infinity Gauntlet. And then my collection of Captain Marvels, including Janice Vell, Carol Danvers, and the original Marvel. And you can't have a cosmic display without the Guardians of the Galaxy. And while we've gotten a number of great movie-accurate Guardians, this display actually is their comic form. The side of the Marvel Universe that's growing more than anything else is the cosmic side. Can't wait to see what comes next. This is another new display where I'm putting together different teams, beginning with Canada's greatest superheroes, Alpha Flight. When you combine the Amazon exclusive box set with Sasquatch and Guardian, you get a near complete team of the founding members of Alpha Flight. Next up come the original Thunderbolts. Still a little thin here, we only have 3, but hopefully that crew will continue to grow. Next are the new Warriors, including a custom Speedball added to the mix. And then finally, the younger generation of the Marvel Universe. Here on the far right-hand side are the Champions, with some of our teen heroes, as well as the Young Avengers, including that 4-figure box set, and then a couple of extras that they've given us along the way. This is an area that has to continue to grow, but with Hasbro's track record, I think we'll fill these teams out nicely. My Shield display represents the best of the old and the new in Marvel Legends figures, starting with an almost 20-year-old Nick Fury figure. This figure still perfectly captures Jim Steranko's look from the 1960s Shield series. And to his side is the brand new deluxe Black Widow. That curl of her hair, the Widow's Blast, and even the smoke effect coming off of her gauntlet are absolutely perfect. To one side, you have the hordes of Hydra. I'm super happy that Hasbro is releasing army builder figures through Hasbro Pulse online. And to the other side, the maniacal scientist of AIM, led by the evil MODOK. I know that we're about to get a new deluxe MODOK, but that thing's going to have to kick some serious tail to replace this original in my display. Onward to Asgard for our Thor display, where we really pull out all the stops to put this one together. That Beta Ray Bill figure is old enough to vote and drink alcohol, as it was released by Toy Biz in the late 90s, well before the Marvel Legends line. Next up, I have a couple of customs of the Warriors 3, still missing Volstagg. Destroyer was part of the Marvel Select line, so he's a little bit bigger in scale. And this Frost Giant actually came as part of the Marvel Legends 3 3/4 inch line. But because he's scaled to fit in with those smaller figures, he actually works well towering over the rest of this display. Fing Fang Foom, of course, was the Build-A-Figure that took 2 waves of figures to complete back in Hasbro's early run. And as I mentioned, in 2012, Hasbro relaunched Marvel Legends, and officially the first figure in that relaunch was the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Thor with the thunder and lightning effects. If you don't know who this is, I have no idea why you're watching this video. But if you love Spidey as much as I do, I've done a dedicated video specifically on this display where I go through every figure, pointing out the significance and history behind each one of these action figures. And while this display is 99% Marvel Legends, there are a couple of outliers here, including the Mafex Spider-Man that perfectly encapsulates the 1990s look of the character, as well as a figure from before the Marvel Legends line started, with this incredibly detailed Man-Spider figure that came out in the Spider-Man Classics line, which debuted 2 years before Toy Biz started Marvel Legends. Spidey's my guy, and I know a lot of you out there love him, so check out that other video. It's good stuff. Spidey has the ultimate rogues gallery, and I have pulled together figures from all the different lines over the past 20 years to put together this classic villains display. Hasbro has done a great job of giving us new versions of classic villains like Kraven, Kingpin, and Mysterio. But this Vulture from the Fearsome Foes box set still is the best version of that character that we've seen. Coming back across the display, you have a couple of Build-A-Figures with Sandman and the Rhino. But the Goblin brothers, Green Goblin and Hobgoblin, are still best represented by their Toy Biz versions. And then to complete these classic Steve Ditko villains, I have several customs, including a Molten Man, as well as the Crime Master and the members of the Enforcers. I would be really impressed if Hasbro gave us these villains, maybe on a retro card back possibly. But until then, here are the Sinister Six, as well as the very best of Spidey's Rogues Gallery. The classics are great, but when you've been cranking out a monthly comic for almost 60 years, it takes a lot of bad guys to fill all those stories. And this shelf has those bonkers, zany, crazy villains that we don't get anywhere else. I've got a few customs like Madam Web and the Spot, as well as this really cool 90s Mafex Venom. Venom appears a couple of times in this shelf, including back here in the back with one of the earliest Marvel Select figures from the early 2000s. There's a custom Cardiac, as well as Black Tarantula, but I really have to give super props to Hasbro because they continue to give us unbelievable figures that I never thought we would see in 6-inch form, like Puma, Paladin, and of course, the dynamic duo of White Rabbit and Frogman. And who can forget John Jameson's Man-Wolf that Toy Biz gave us back in the mid-2000s? Yep, this is where it's at. I love all of the goofy, silly spider villains. These are the ones that make that spider universe so much fun. But hey, we can't forget the ladies in Spidey's world. And down here on the bottom shelf, we have a bunch of the different women who have had the Spider-Woman name. And we have everybody's favorite cartoon star, Firestar, right here flying above them. A couple of more various bad guys, including Demogoblin, and this really super cool Marvel Select set that had Green Goblin and Peter Parker perfectly recapturing John Romita's very first cover from Amazing Spider-Man 39. And while they're not technically Marvel Legends, you just can't get enough of Japanese Spider-Man. And my tiny collection of figures from the Land of the Rising Sun sit right here in the corner of this display. I've never been the biggest fan of the Incredible Hulk, but this green Goliath from Marvel Select may just change my mind. I put together this display specifically for this video so that we could showcase some of the larger villains in Marvel Legends line, including the Wrecking Crew and Absorbing Man, Wendigo, and Abomination. But they're centered on 3 different versions of the Hulk: Gray Hulk, Green Hulk, and Mr. Fix-It. My Avengers Villains display centers on the Marvel Select Ultron, surrounded by 2 old Toy Biz figures of the Red Skull and Baron Zemo. But what makes this shelf so much fun are all of these crazy villains that Hasbro has given us over the past couple of years. Figures I never dreamt we would see made, like Spy Master, Whirlwind, Batroc, and members of the Serpent Society. It's almost like they pulled out the old official handbook of the Marvel Universe, just opened a page and said, Living Laser. Yeah, let's make a figure of him. Keep it up, Hasbro. You are crushing it with the different comic villains. No Marvel Legends display is complete without an Iron Man armory. And who am I to argue? I love the look of all of these red and gold figures stacked together, but I have included some that came outside of Marvel Legends, like the Mezco 112 Iron Man with his die-cast metal figure, as well as a couple from Marvel Select, the Ultimate Universe Iron Man and the Hulkbuster Iron Man. But I had to get out of scale just one time to include my childhood Secret Wars Iron Man. Yep, he may not be 6 inches, but he's got it where it counts. The Avengers first appeared in 1963, and 30 years later, Toy Biz gave us a box set of the original members. We have gotten a lot of Avengers figures over the years, but I find it interesting that no matter how many figures we get, we still haven't topped those first two Marvel Legends from 2002, the classic Iron Man and Captain America. I think we've gotten over 30 figures of each of these, but no one beats the originals, and they remain right at the front of my display. If you want to learn more about my Avengers display, I did a dedicated video specifically on this shelf. Check it out in the link above. I also did a dedicated video on this X-Men villain shelf. But since that video came out, we've had a few new additions to the shelf. If you've watched it, see if you can check out the differences and who's been added to this display. But no matter what, it is still going to be founded on those three huge Build-A-Figure Sentinels back in the back. HasLab is about to give us a brand new Sentinel, but it's going to take a lot of work to replace these bad boys in my collection. The X-Men are the gold standard for Marvel's Merry Mutants. But what about all those other X teams? Well, they live on this shelf right here, starting with the New Mutants. We have most of the founding members of the team already in 6-inch form. Next up comes the members of 90s X Factor, followed by Rob Liefeld's signature creation, X-Force. Hasbro's done a great job of putting this team together. What we really need, though, are more X-Statics to go along with Dupe here. And back in the corner, two of my absolute favorite Marvel Legends figures, Maverick and Strife. If you're looking for your various X-Men, this is where you're going to find them. Another display that I set up specifically for this video focuses on the villains from John Byrne and Chris Claremont's seminal run on the X-Men. The recent Hellfire Club box set, along with the Hasbro Pulse Hellfire Goons, makes for an incredible start to this display. But we don't want to forget the other parts of the Byrne Claremont run, including their battle with Magneto in the Savage Land. Here we have Sauron Build-A-Figure, and the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Kazar and Shauna the She-Devil. Gladiator was a part of the Dark Phoenix run, and here she is, Dark Phoenix herself. I used the Marvel Select Phoenix display because it's larger and it really makes this utterly incredible action figure stand out. And finally, I have my X-Men display, centered on the original members of the X-Men. I've done a dedicated video on this shelf as well, so check it out if you really want to get into the history and the significance of these figures. But I've given a lot of thought to changing this display, to having the 70s and the 80s X-Men figures on this side, and then moving over to the blue and gold 90s X-Men figures on this side. Let me know if you guys would like to see a video with a completely new and different X-Men display. I have every Marvel Legends figure ever produced, but at this point you'd have to have a warehouse to display them all. If you've enjoyed this tour of the best, let us know about it, and check out some of my other videos where I dig even deeper into my Legends collection. And of course, subscribe to Carbon Scoring for more comic and action figure fun.